Welcome to the America's Home Experts podcast. I'm your host, John Bujak, and as always, right here with me is my partner in crime, Steve Brocksterman.
Okay.
This is the show where we bring real professionals to the table to help homeowners understand what actually matters when it comes to their home. And we just finished talking with Kirk from Steri-Clean Detroit, and this is a heavy-hearted episode.
It is. It's a very interesting business. Viewer discretion is advised if you have a weaker stomach. We talk about deep cleaning after some traumatic events, as you can imagine what that all entails. I won't obviously go into it. Just if you have a weak stomach, tread light.
Yeah, Kirk handles situations that, as a homeowner, we hope we never have to come across. But the truth is that it happens all over the country.
So everybody at some...
And when you need to clean up a biohazard mess from an unexpected situation, Kirk is the man to call.
Absolutely. And very interesting conversation. I got so much out of this episode listening to talk about the stuff he has to go through. He has to be essentially a psychologist, a business owner. He's like navigating all kinds of different aspects in this business, and a human, and giving back to his community and donating things. Like, it's a very interesting listen.
Yeah. And we'll get right into it, because today's conversation is not about fear. It's about understanding, preparation, and knowing who to call when the worst of the worst happens. All right, man. So thanks for being on the podcast today.
Yeah. Happy New Year, eh?
Happy New Year. What a year. Let's make 2026 even better.
Yeah, I agree.
So tell us a little bit about your background, Kirk. How did you even get into this line of work? And by the way, I want to confirm, you go by Coach Clean. Is that right?
I usually, the kids call me Coach Kirk.
Okay. Is Coach Clean a good one we could use also?
Oh yeah.
John likes Coach Clean.
Gives that mystique. Call Coach Clean.
Yeah. Well, I worked at Ford Motor Company for 30 years, on the line from, driving the screw to the end. I was on the launch team for the Bronco. And then I retired. And at the time I was 56. I'm 58 now. And I didn't want to go on the plan anymore. But that I didn't necessarily want to retire. I was like, okay, I got to find something else to do. And my wife and I looked at a few things, and we were going to do sort of a pet centric thing. And that kind of fell through. It cost me about $30,000 to find out I didn't want to do that. And so then we kept looking around, and I found this franchise. And there's a TV show. Have you ever seen this TV show Hoarders on A&E?
Oh yeah, very.
Yeah, well, our company, Steri-Clean, that I have a franchise of, is the cleaning company on that TV show. The ones that go in and clean up the Hoarders mess. I had no idea. I never watched it. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch sports. That's about it. So I didn't even know about that. But we were looking through, different opportunities, and I was like, well, here's an interesting one. Here's something where we can help people and still make, fairly good amount of money. and we can help people in the community. And it gives me something to do, because like I told John, I'm bored as shit because we have nothing. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't swear.
You can swear.
I won't believe it.
Yeah, you can swear all you want.
Okay. In the last couple of weeks, I've been really bored because I don't have my normal meetings and things. I'm like, okay, now what? What am I doing today? So
right.
Anyway, we started getting into looking at that closer, and I went out in California and talked to the CEO and things, and we ended up starting this franchise about 2 years ago now. So it's been interesting. It's definitely I came from an industry that was put the screw in. It's something more different every day, which is nice.
Right.
Fair.
Was there a moment where you realized, what, first off, explain, because there's a lot of people out there who don't understand what it is. So explain your business to everyone.
Well, we, if something bad happens,
businesses. So let's keep it a little lower than what the extreme of the extreme is.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to, anyway, when something bad in your life happens, like, someone passes, or God forbid, there's a suicide or a homicide, a lot of people don't know what to do. I mean, they call the police, coroner comes and gets the body, and then what? No one knows what to do. My dad passed, and after the coroner came and got his body, I was like, now what? Now it cleans up the mess, because he was dead for a couple of days. And before we realized that he had passed, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's stuff you just don't think about.
Yeah, and normal people don't think about that, right? They don't think about that, and some people even believe the police clean that up. They do not clean that up. So that is the backbone of our company, cleaning up tragedy, homicide, suicide, things like that. Mm-hmm. We also do a lot of other things. We homeless encampments. Probably 70% of my work is hoarding. Hoarding is a very bad mental disorder, and a lot of people have it. Most people know a hoarder, and and families after 10 years of dealing with a hoarder sometimes have thrown up their hands and given up. And like I said, it's a mental disorder, so you can't be mad at the people, and you just got to find them help, and that's what we try to provide, help.
Mm-hmm. So when
we do that, we do a bunch of other things.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing commercial work, you're doing residential work. It's a lot of everything. What surprised you the most when you first started this new journey?
Surprised me, the amount of homelessness there is actually is what surprised me the most. Because when I went out and talked to the CEO, we talked about homeless encampments, and we clean up homeless encampments, and I think. That's not something I think we have to deal with here in Detroit, but I was wrong. We do. And it's really bad on the west side of the state. We've been up to Three Rivers 3 or 4 times cleaning up a homeless encampment. So that surprised me a lot more it was a lot more pervasive than I thought it was.
Okay.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's part of what you do.
Yeah.
So I want to get into what Steri-Clean actually does. Like, you gave us a broad overview. For someone, what situations usually cause someone to call you?
Like I said, probably 7% of our jobs are hoarding. So it's usually a family member or someone who's gotten to their last point, and they're like, okay, I need help. So the majority of our calls, and it's also seasonal, like in this fall, and now we're having a lot of problems with waste from rodents and animals that get into your home, and we clean that up, because mouse poop can spread hantavirus. A lot of people don't know that. There's certain ways you're supposed to clean up rodent waste, and it's not with a broom. So like right now, the majority of the we're doing right now, or the majority of our jobs are probably hoarding.
Okay. When someone calls you for hoarding, what's that conversation like? Take me through the process.
Oh,
because this is a huge mental,
Oh yeah, it's really bad. And I mean, we've been on the phone with some person for an hour, just talking about everything they want to talk about, because it's, like I said, it's a horrible mental issue, and it takes a lot of empathy to deal with these people, and that's the most important thing in our business, I think, is empathy towards our customers, because in 90% of the times they're going through the worst part of their lives. The worst episode of their life is right now, and we're trying to help them get through it without having mental breakdown. Basically.
Right. So you're playing obviously you're providing service, but you're also kind of playing psychologist too on the side here.
Yeah. Yes, we're.
Oh, that's
uncertified psychiatrist.
Yeah. That's
well, I mean, my one of the first things I tell people when I hire is empathy is the number one thing here. You need to be empathetic to these people, or it's just not going to work. When we go do we'll use hoarding as an example. When you go do a hoard, that's those people's lives. If you take 90% of their stuff away and just throw it away in front of them, they're going to have a mental breakdown. You have to want them. You have to work with them until they feel they can let go of these things. And, and our watchword is, we need to make your home safe again, so you can live in it. And there's times when the state gets involved and, the people become a ward of the state, or they're not allowed to have their children anymore, or things like that. And we're like, well, we can clean up your home and hopefully you can get your kids back.
Right.
So
it's a heavy subject for sure.
Yeah,
it's a lot. And I didn't know all this when I got involved. I was just like, I need to do something after I retired from Ford. And one of my favorite things about this is the empathy part and trying to help people.
Right. Because when you're called, they're at a point in their life where they themselves or someone who cares about them has finally reached out.
Yeah.
When we're talking specifically about hoarding, or they're at a point in their life where it's, sadly, a family member may have passed. We had a neighbor who passed across the street and nobody knew for 5 days.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
Check.
We did, obviously because of HIPAA laws, I can't share a lot of names or things, but we did a lady, Helen. She had no family left. She was the only one. Her children had died. And she was there for 3 weeks until the mail person noticed there were flies on the inside of the window and the mail was piling up, and she called the local police. And that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, and thank heaven there's people like you who are able to come in and, fix that type of
somebody. It needs to. And then in the idea, like the hoards, even if the person dies, someone's going to have to clean that hoard up. You can't sell the house like that.
So in a situation like that, like if you're called to clean it, is the state calling you then?
It all depends. Majority of the time, it's the family.
Yeah.
Grandma's in hospice, or grandma's in the hospital. Usually grandma's in the hospital. And can we come and clean her up? And we have to explain to them, unless you have legal guardianship over your grandmother, I can't just come into your grandmother's house and start throwing things away. That's stealing. It's,
Right.
So.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
So, I will get a call from a family member and we'll have to explain to them, your grandmother or whomever needs to be ready for this to happen. Or, we're just spinning our wheels here.
Mm-hmm.
It's important. There's a lot of layers to it.
Important that somebody calls a professional company like yours that does their due diligence to find out all these legal things, because if you're not going with a reputable company, someone could just go out and clean out grandma's house without her knowledge, and that's going to cause a much bigger problem down the road.
Oh yeah.
And to go along with a reputable company, Kirk, what is the difference between regular cleaning and biohazard cleaning?
Biohazard. Okay. When a body's decomposed,
doing biohazard cleaning, but if I've got a rodent infestation or bat guano up in the attic, I need to call you and not just do it myself, right?
You definitely should. If you're going to do it yourself, you should at least wear a mask, at the very least, right? But bio is much different. Bio, I'm trying to do this without being extremely vulgar.
You can be vulgar. Go for it. Let's go.
Graphic.
Yeah, we can edit
after when a body lays in for a certain amount of time, fluids start to come out of it, right? And the fluids that the body excretes are just like water, so they find their own level. That means if you lay in a room on the second floor, eventually that fluid's going to leak through the ceiling, or through the floor in your case, through the ceiling of the room downstairs, and keep going until it stops. It's like water. It's going to find its own level. So in cases like that, we have to start from where the body had laid, take all of that flooring up and dispose of it properly, and all the way down till we find where the end is. So all that has to come out and be disposed of properly.
My comment.
And I can't, obviously I can't remove any structural members. So things like joists and things like that, I have to clean extremely good and then seal. It's to seal in any bio that I might not have gotten, especially in like a joist is made out of wood, and it's going to soak up all that liquid. I'm not going to say juice. It's going to soak up all that liquid. And
the human soup.
yeah, I've said that before. Believe me, there's a video I have of someone had passed in a hot tub and laid there for a while, and it was definitely human soup.
Oh God, or barf.
What people don't know is, I mean, things like bio, that can just go down the toilet because your excretions are bio anyway, right? And they're going to go down the toilet and they're going to go to the processing plant. It's the same thing. I can, in a case like that, pull the plug and let it drain out and go into the sewer system and be treated at the processing plant. And then, I would never use a hot tub again that somebody had passed in because there's no way I can get all the tubing in there. And there's no way I can actually get that clean, so I wouldn't use it. I would clean as best as my ability and tell the people I would take that out and start all over or get a new tub or whatever.
What risks if they're coming across, we Steve and I have dealt with a lot of inner city homes where people are flipping and, there's been human feces in there, or, dead rodents, bird droppings. What risk do people underestimate when they're trying to clean this up themselves?
Oh, exposure to Lord knows what is basically it. Because like I said, in the case of rodents, it's hantavirus. Rodent waste, if it's aerosolized, if it goes into the air like you're sweeping it up, you can contract hantavirus, which is an upper respiratory disease. Birds are extremely dirty and nasty and dangerous to humans. Bird feces is extremely dangerous to human beings. So, in the case of somebody's blood or bodily fluids, you don't know what that person has. You can contract, something horrible. And I mean, something horrible like AIDS, even though AIDS doesn't live outside the human body very long. Hepatitis.
Yeah.
Hepatitis is very bad, and it lives on its surface without looking it up, I can't tell you exactly how long, but it'll live outside the human body for a long time. And once you get hepatitis, you have hepatitis. It's not going away.
So what kind of, that brings up a good point. What kind of protection do you guys wear?
Yeah.
All my guys are full guys, and I have guys and girls, but all my people are full PPE, Tyvek suits, 2 layers of gloves, booties, full face respirators. They would put a hood over, tape the wrists, tape the ankles, anything like that. And as soon as they leave the environment that we're trying to clean up, they strip all that stuff off and throw it away. And they have to go back in. They put a whole new set on.
Right.
Because I don't want them. I certainly don't want my people contracting some horrible disease.
Yeah.
Taking it back to their families.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about everything you've been through. What is a call that you'll never forget?
Jobs that I've never forgotten.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget.
Or even let's spin it, because we've gone so down the morbid side.
Viewer discretion.
Yeah.
Viewer discretion. Let's talk about a thing you've never, that a job you've done with such a positive outcome for the homeowner that you've never.
Oh, we did a hoard. A lady, we'll say she was in her 40s, has had a reoccurring problem with hoarding over the years. Her family continued to try to get her help. And, the first day we're there, beautiful house in Ann Arbor. It's another thing people don't understand about hoarders. A lot of time hoarders are doctors, lawyers, professors. They're usually very intelligent people, and they're dealing with something mental. It's common for them to be in a job where they're, obviously intelligent. They have degrees in this, that, and the other thing. But anyway, this lady had a beautiful home in Ann Arbor, but she was a shopper. So she had a lot of clothing. I mean, a lot of clothing. It was, I don't know. There wasn't a clean room in the house. It wasn't so bad that it was piled up to head height, but it was probably knee to waist height in all rooms. And she was starting to make pads and things. And she was, the first day we're there, she was crying and embarrassed. And usually they are very embarrassed. That's why a lot of reasons they don't want to have their friends or family over, because they're embarrassed by their own hoard. So she was very embarrassed, and our people took their time and went through all of her stuff. And what we'll do a lot of times is see everything, especially like a lady like that, where she was a clothes hoarder. She has all kinds of clothing, and she's never going to wear it all. So we start saying, okay, well, we can donate all this to like a battered women's shelter, or Salvation Army, or we go down to there's a school for bad girls in Dearborn Heights that we. The reason I know that is because when I used to live in Dearborn Heights as a little kid, and we used to like to go there and meet girls. But
okay, that's another podcast.
Yes. But anyway, so we gathered up all this stuff that was still perfectly good clothing, and took it down to the local wherever and donated it. And by the end, she was happy and singing and dancing around the house, and it was all clean. And that really made us feel well, because, our first interaction with her, she was crying and upset and embarrassed. And after 4 days of my people working in the house, she was happy, saw maybe her life could go forward and, turn over a new leaf or something positive, Yeah. So that was nice. I really liked that one. There's a lot of cases where, or a family would be like, oh, thank God, thank you for doing this for Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe would have died in here next year if you hadn't come. Things like that.
Yeah. Well, you got any other stories? These are great. I'd love to hear another one.
It touched me in a bad way was probably the homeless encampments. I don't like doing them. Mm-hmm. Us as a society should have a better way to deal with this, instead of, this is private land, get off.
Right. Yeah.
Those people all have mental disorders. They're probably drug users. They won't go to the church because they can't use their drugs, and the church won't let them use their drugs in the church or the, Salvation Army or any of those places where, a homeless person would go for help. They can't use their drugs because they won't let them. So they go to some field somewhere and set up a tent and live there. And it's just, I don't know. It bothers me, because I'm like, there's got to be a better way to deal with this, than basically make these people criminals. They need help. They don't need the jail cell.
Right. Mm-hmm. What's a situation that your customers or people might assume is simple, but really isn't, and that's where you need to come in?
There's a lot of people, something bad will happen in their life, and someone will pass, and they'll be in the house. And, I'm not going to say our prices are inexpensive, because they are not. It's a very specialized cleaning service. All my people are trained. I have to provide PPE and everything they need to keep them protected, and I have to dispose of the waste properly. I can't just throw it out. It has to be disposed of properly. I have a service, and they ship it over to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and put it in an autoclave. If everyone knows what autoclave is, it basically heats it up really, really, really hot. So it kills all bacteria and viruses and things on it. And then they can dispose of it properly in the landfill. But a lot of people think, oh, I'll just, clean up this blood with some Lysol and move on my happy way. You didn't clean up anything. The bio is still there. You just can't see it anymore.
Right.
So a lot of people think that, well, it looks clean. It doesn't mean anything. It looks clean. It looks clean.
Have you ever walked into a home where the damage wasn't even visible at first? Or is it hit you right there?
Oh, it's all kinds. We'll go into a place and say, okay, what happened and where is it? And they'll show us where they had wiped it up, and then we have chemicals that we can put down and say, oh, okay, yep, it was definitely right here. And then there's see, this is a 10 by 10 room, basically. If I were to kill myself with a shotgun in this room, there would, it happens. There would be bio everywhere. It would be all over everything, and I'd have to clean the whole thing. And you can miss the slightest thing. We were in a home back in the spring, and the person had killed himself, and we had wiped out everything, and I was going through to look and make sure everything was okay. And in the bedroom where the person had killed himself, there was a TV hanging from the wall. And I just happened to look behind it, and there was a blood splotch. So somehow the blood had gotten around the TV and behind it. We don't know how, but that happens. Somehow it bounced around until it got behind something.
Is it ever where it's just you look at a thing and you're going, this isn't salvageable? This is too much.
Oh, yeah. Especially if, hoarding can be so bad that it starts to affect the structural integrity of the home. If you put 5 feet of freaking books in this room all the way around, how much can it weigh? I don't know. It's beyond the structural integrity of the joist, so I can tell you that.
Yeah, you're right.
And so there's times where I've had jobs where they're like, just go up in the attic, and I said, no, I'm not sending my people up in the attic. Well, I had a lady like hit the stairs with her cane. See, it's fine. I'm like, what does that prove? You hit the stairs with your cane.
What's the PSI of hitting a stair with a cane?
Yeah. What's the tensile strength of that cane?
Right.
So, that happened.
Let's talk a little bit about the emotional side of the job. You touched base on this when we started, but how does it both positively and negatively affect yourself, your employees, your wife? This is a very deep and traumatic blue collar business. It is not.
Oh yeah, no. It like the example I gave of the lady with the hoard in Ann Arbor, that always makes our people happy. But then there's we always talk about, how do you compartmentalize cleaning up someone's brain that's splattered all over the wall? How do you do that without? I was a veteran. I've got some PTSD. I understand. How do you make that something you can mentally handle? I personally, it's not brains. It's not somebody I know. It's just some goo that I have to scrape off the wall.
Sure.
But that's hard for people to do. And this is not a job for everyone. Like I said, I first, when I hire somebody, I start asking about empathy. You need some empathy in this. And do you have a strong stomach? Because you're going to need a strong stomach. You're going to walk into some stuff and it's like, wow. And how can people live like this? And
yeah,
things like that,
I've personally been in countless homes that are hoarders.
Yeah.
And on the outside, these people are just, you never would know.
No.
They live a normal life. And then,
yeah.
And you can't, like you said, you can't just go in there and throw away their life. Like they are attached to it. My mother-in-law, she just passed away. She was a hoarder. It was terrible.
Everyone was a hoarder, man.
They had possums living in their home and didn't see a problem with it.
Sometimes they don't even know.
Yeah.
There's we'll find dead animals in the hoard. Like, how long did this thing live here until it died? And you have to be careful. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. You're right. You're the expert. I'm just saying, for personal experience, the cleanup was tremendous.
It is.
And it's nothing that you can't hold it against them. It's just what happened. My grandmother hoarded food because in the 20s, she lived through, or the 30s, she lived through the Great Depression. So we canned growing up, and we always had an abundance of food. We had the freezer with, I think, if there was 27 years of frozen meat in there, if we ever needed it.
That's common, man, because a lot of times in the hoard, you can see what the trauma was by what the person is hoarding. So like in the case of your grandmother, she didn't have food. And in her mind, she thought, I'll never have that problem again. I'll make sure I have food forever. right?
Yes.
Or another hoard, maybe someone lost a child, and so there's baby dolls and toys everywhere. Or they didn't have money when they were kids, so there's money stashed everywhere. Or anything. It could be anything. And a lot of times you can see the trauma in their life from what they were hoarding. And then sometimes it was just, their brain said, do this, and they did.
Somehow collecting the stuff gives them comfort.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and, they don't want to waste things. And, there's always going to be a purpose for this. I can't just throw it out. I saw a study where the lady, she collected dolls and she couldn't give them away because the dolls had to have a good home, and she couldn't deal with the fact that, not thrown out, they have to go to a home and needs a child to love it and things like that. So she could never get rid of the dolls.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about, before we go on, about homeowners. We'll continue about homeowners. Then I want to talk about commercial side too, because you handle big industrial stuff as well.
Yeah.
So what should homeowners do immediately after a traumatic event?
Call the police.
Yeah.
Okay. After you call the police,
right.
Well, I would call my insurance company first, because sometimes an insurance company will pay for it and sometimes they wouldn't. And it all, how insurance is.
Yeah.
So I would call them. I would start looking for someone like me, to clean up the mess, because you might think you're going to clean it up, but it's going to be a lot more. To do it right, it's going to be a lot more in depth than you think it is, and you're going to be the one that has to clean up all the blood and the bodily fluid and things like that.
Does
the family
you work with your services?
Yeah, oh yeah. Especially if the where the person had laid for a long time. If the body stays long enough in one spot and the fluids come out and flies get in there and maggots form, the entire house needs to be wiped down from top to bottom. Yeah.
That's where you got me.
Yeah.
The maggots form and the maggots turn into flies and they fly all over the house. Like the lady that I told you about, where they such the
postal lady. Yeah.
The postal lady saw the flies. That entire house has to be cleaned from top to bottom, because the flies took that biohazard and spread it all over the house. And so,
all right, they land on.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And every time they land on something, they have biohazard on them, and they spread it all over the house. So
you're not just cleaning. I mean, is there a point where you're just like, we got to rip out the drywall? We got to take out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of times it's like that. Anytime where
I can imagine too.
Smoking is the biggest thing with smoking is getting out soft surfaces. So any soft surface in that home needs to be thrown out. All the carpet needs to come out, drapes, anything that's soft needs to come out and be thrown out, or you'll never get the smoke smell out.
Right.
After that, we use certain chemicals to clean every surface. It has to be every surface, or the smoke smell is still going to be there. And then we have like gas treatments where we would treat the entire home, and it would basically, your house would smell like a swimming pool for a couple of days. But smoking cleanups are hard, because you have to get the entire source out. Just like bio, you have to get the entire source of the problem out.
Right. What should people be looking for when choosing a cleanup company? When they're looking around, what is something you would tell them? Obviously, we recommend Steri-Clean Detroit, and we want them to call you, Kirk. But
well, thank you. No, I don't want to say that you should obviously go with a franchise, but at least if you go with a franchise, that there's some kind of rules they're supposed to. Unfortunately, our industry isn't that well regulated here, which I find just amazing. There's not that much regulation. There probably should be more. I know it sounds weird, a business owner asking for more regulation, but there probably should be more. So, Joe's cadaver cleanup can't come in and wipe down a surface with some Lysol and say, okay, we're good.
Right.
Right. So I would look for years in the business, Google reviews, right? Things like that. Something. I wouldn't just pick someone out of the phone book. I would do a little bit of research. We're dealing with a house we got a call yesterday. The lady moved into a new home for her, a new home, and then found out, well, she said the home smelled funny, and then found out that there was a death in the house.
Oh.
From the neighbor. The neighbor told her, oh, yeah, somebody died in there like last year. So what we think happened is they just, either the family cleaned it up or they found, Joe's cadaver service that came in and wiped everything down, but didn't actually clean it all. So we're talking to her right now. We'll probably have to go out and do a really deep estimate on, I need to find out where the body was, because I have no idea. Might have to go and see if hopefully there's a police report or something, so I can find where the body was, so we can find out, did any bodily fluids leak from this point into the home at any spot that they didn't clean? Why does it still smell in here? It still smells in here because there's still bio in that house someplace, somewhere. And those people did not do a good job cleaning it up, whoever that person might be. I told the lady, if I were you, I would start talking to a lawyer.
Yeah,
because they did not.
I wonder what the rules are for that. If you have to disclose that,
you have to disclose it because it's a hazard.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a realtor. But if I moved into a home where they disclose that, I would be pissed and I would call a lawyer.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is
so. In your business, it seems like you almost have to be a lawyer.
Yeah,
you have to be a detective.
You have to protect yourself. That's for sure.
You have to be a detective. You have to be a psychologist. You have to wear all these hats. It's pretty amazing. It's definitely more in depth than I ever thought it would be. And I mean, for me, it's a good reason why to go with a company like yours, because you have people that have the experience to kind of guide you through that.
Yeah,
it's very traumatic.
It's extremely traumatic. In a lot of cases, this is probably the worst day of your life or the worst period of your life. Someone had passed, or you've got this horrible hoarding and this problem, and you're finally going to get help. And, it's extremely traumatic. And then there's other times where we're just cleaning up mouse poop. So
it's funny. That's your best day. For most people, they wouldn't be able to relate to that.
That's easy.
It's a great day. We're just cleaning.
Let me apprentice that one.
Do you work a lot with plumbers? I mean, is that what do they call you?
We get calls from plumbers if they're going in to replace the hot water heater. They can't get to it because there's a hoard all around it. So, and the person well, I can't get to your hot water heater. You know what I mean? I can't replace it until I can get to it. And, I probably should work closer with a lot of these guys and give them my car and tell them to call people, but I don't. I'm dropping the ball, I assume. But
let's talk about your other side of the business. So you've got homeowners, and then you also do commercial stuff without giving away any, names for commercial. Talk a little bit about what you do on that side.
Well, obviously the same things. If unfortunately the world's a horrible place and homicides can happen anywhere, including schools and businesses and, all these terrible places that things could happen. So, I mean, we could go into anywhere and clean up some kind of crime. We also clean up drug houses. So, I mean, if you're cooking meth in a home for X amount of days, it's in that house, and it's the same thing. I have to find all the sources and get it all out. And a lot of times it's, take it down to the studs. I mean, I wouldn't want a family move into that home without us taking all the residue of the meth out.
Yeah, that's.
How do you even deal with a meth house? That is, nothing but tear.
I wouldn't buy one.
Okay.
The best that we can do is, like I said, take it down to the studs and try to get everything out. In a lot of cases, I personally think they should just bulldoze it and start all over again, because,
it's back.
I assume we're getting all the mess out. I hope we are. We test and test and test, but and then the next year some kid finds a chunk of meth or something and dies because of it, then it's, that'd be horrible. So, and that's the same with like apartment complexes and things like that. That's where the commercial would come in,
Mm-hmm.
Someone was cooking meth in their apartment. Someone had a drug house in their apartment, so the property manager calls us, or there was a suicide in a hotel room, or they're doing drugs in a hotel room, or they're doing drugs in an Airbnb, or there was a suicide in an Airbnb, or things like that. Or we do a lot of that. We have a contract where we clean up bird droppings for a big shipping company. Without disclosing a lot of things, I'm going to say they do international shipping, and their packages can't be going overseas covered in bird droppings. So, and it's extremely dangerous for the people that work in that environment to have to come in contact with bird droppings all the time. So we go down to a place every week and clean that up every week, every single week.
Wow, that's quite the bird problem.
Yeah, and if you're dealing with like a 1 million square foot warehouse, I worked in a lot of big factories. Obviously, I worked at Ford. There's no way to keep the pigeons out. There's no way.
Yeah,
I wanted to bring a BB gun into the plant, and they wouldn't let me.
Is there anything that surprises you anymore in this business?
Oh, man's ability to do bad is what is never. It's amazing. It's just like wow. It's how mean we can be to each other. It's just amazing to me. Amazing.
I want to step back. You talked a little bit. Let's talk about something you talked about earlier. What do you find cash in the hoard? Or in a house that's just being cleaned? How does all that work? Or no, Superman?
Our people are trained. Like, so we'll say a hoard. We're going to say hoard just to make it easy. When you're going through the hoard, we look for cash, valuables, jewelry, watches, important paperwork like your mortgage, your marriage license, or the title to your car, and things like that. And a lot of times I'll just throw a bucket or something in the middle of the room and say, if you find anything, any money, any jewels, or anything, just throw in the bucket. When it's all done, here's your stuff. We found, I've seen videos of from my franchisor. They found, I don't know, $100,000 in cash in house that Blade didn't even know that she had. And, bonds and mega bonds everywhere, or 1 million shares of, Hewlett Packard or whatever. So we train our people to, while you're going through everything, look for valuable stuff, pictures, anything that the family, like ashes, anything the family might want, anything that's of value, I know there's a lot of these places that do hoards that will take all their stuff and sell it on a secondary market to make more money, and I just don't do that. It's either it's garbage or it's a family's property, or we're going to give it to charity.
Yeah, I love that aspect of your business, is like, or you actually, is the giving back to the community side of how.
Well, this is the community I live in, right? And the only way to make our communities better is if we make our communities better. Those people in office in Lansing and Washington, they don't give a damn.
What sets Steri-Clean Michigan apart from others? You touched on it a little bit, but what makes you guys different?
Well, I'd like to think it's our empathy towards the customer, or we try to be honest. We try to be empathetic. We try to do the job as best as we can. I can't do anything more than that. I try to do, as like I said, I trust all my workers to be honest and empathetic with our clients, and and operate safely and things like that. I just try to do the right thing.
How do you families? When you're dealing with a traumatic experience, how are you approaching these families when you first meet them?
Oh, it's like I said, it's usually it starts with a long phone call. They'll call our number, and uh, usually my team leader will take the call, my shop supervisor, what do you want to call her? And there's been times when she's been on the phone for an hour, just, because once you get a lot of people talking and you make them feel comfortable, then we can try to, okay, so what's the problem? And let's see how we can help you. Like it all comes back to empathy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When, what is doing it right? So you talked about like Joe's cadavers coming in and doing it a certain way. When does doing it right mean to you?
Well, doing it right is, let's take body fluids. You have to make sure that you clean it all up, not just the surface. You have to make sure that it's, like I said, it's like water. It's going to get under a wall. It's going to go into the basement. It's going to go, who knows? You have to find the whole thing, and a lot of times just because there's one spot of blood on a carpet doesn't mean there isn't a big pool of blood under that carpet, because it could have been dripping there and then soaking out through the pad or into the subfloor. And you have to keep digging until you find that there's no more. And there's a lot of people, they don't do that because all you have to do is wipe down the surface. See, it's clean. You look at it. Oh, it looks clean. Thank you.
It takes a lot of discipline to keep going, to keep digging when it looks done. Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's hard to tell, but most of the time it's easy. You're like, okay, obviously this was saturated in fluid. You just find out where it ends. Yeah. And then there's things like, I'm sorry, like I said, like structural members or concrete. Concrete's porous, so I have to put like structural members are made out of wood usually, so especially in this area, so they're porous. So I have to put some chemicals on there to suck that bio out. But then I have to seal it because there's no way I can get it all out, including concrete floors. I have to seal them. I use kills usually, and there's other things, and seal that whole area.
When they're calling you for, say, bat droppings or, dead rodents or rodent issues, you are not the person to call to remove said rodents.
No. Be
clear.
You call the rodent, exterminator or whatever, and when that person is done, we will come in and clean up what the mess was that rodent made. And, especially in the fall, there could be all kinds of rodents in your home. So
if they have an emu infestation, they are not going to call you first. Get rid of the emus.
No, ma'am. No, sir. No, sir. I'll help clean up the emu poop, though, or emu residue, whatever that might be.
What do you want people to feel after you leave their home when all is said and done?
How do I want them to feel? That we did a good job and, feel better about the whole thing. I'm hoping that we're there to help them, and make them feel better about the entire process. I want them to be confident that their house is now safe, because we've done the right thing and gone into it deep enough to find out where all the problem was and remediate it. That's what I'm doing, remediating biohazardous material. So I want them to feel safe and happy and, I don't know, grateful maybe. I don't, okay. You don't have to be grateful.
That's awesome.
Are there any past clients that really stick out that have reached out to you maybe a month later, a year later, right afterwards, and just said something that stuck with you that made you feel, this is why I do what I do?
Oh yeah. We've had people call and say, thank you so much. You saved Uncle Joe's life by doing this. Cause he was going to die in that house. And now he's got a renewed purpose in life. And, that, unfortunately we get a lot of, recidivism recidivism, that's a hard word, rate of hoarding is high. So we get a lot of call, and we offer aftercare where, say you're a hoarder We clean it up, and we have, people you can talk to. There's a website that you can go on and just talk. When a lot of these hoarder people go on there and talk to other hoarders about hoarding and how they're doing, and is the hoarding coming back, and things like that. So we have aftercare, but we still get a lot of recidivism. We have a local lady that we go to every 6 months, no matter what. And she's told me, well, I know I'm a hoarder and I'm never going to change. I'm like, okay, yeah, but shouldn't you try?
Are you working with, you kind of touched on it. You are working with maybe local nonprofits or mental health people to help these individuals as well, right?
Well, we have a couple names of local mental health, professionals that will be like, if you have no one to talk to, please, contact this person, or you can contact this person. You don't have to. You can contact this person, and maybe they can help. If you're talking to no one, then you should be talking to someone, because there's something going on. And like I said, I'll admit that I have PTSD, and a lot of years, especially when I worked in the plant, I spent in the bar, self-medicating, and that was the wrong thing to do. And I should have been talking to somebody all those years, and I do now, but I wouldn't have had as much problems younger in life after I came home than I wouldn't if I had immediately started talking to someone. And that's what I try to get, here's our aftercare. Here's someone locally that you can talk to if you need to, It bothers me that the recidiv rate is so high. I go and clean someone's house up and put them on the right track, thinking, all right, we did it, and they're fine now. And that's not the case.
What's the most misunderstood part of your job, Kirk?
Probably the fact that hoarding is a really bad mental disorder that's rampant in our community, and people will look at somebody and they go, oh, they're just nasty, or they're lazy, or they're this, or they're that. Of course, as humans do, we'll start putting labels on them. My label, I suppose, is they're touched in the head, but still, that's a miss. Oh, Uncle Joe's so nasty, he doesn't clean up his own home. Well, Uncle Joe also has a mental issue, or Uncle Joe fought in Vietnam, and that's why he's messed up in the head. Yeah. Things like that.
One thing that really hit home for me was the fact that you said a lot of times you could see that trauma
yes,
in the stuff, right? Like it was that switch.
Yeah, there's other interesting things. Is like, I'll go into a house and the police said, well, this person did this, and I look around and I'm like, that doesn't compute. That doesn't seem right. There's other things going on here. And I'll go talk to the police. I was like, yeah, that person died, but for some reason there was a fire in this home, because you can see the soot, and things like that are interesting, and so there's a lot of. Go ahead.
I think your industry it's so similar. If you think of it, a homeowner or an individual is not really looking for your business until they need your business.
Exactly.
So pre-planning. It's similar to like a funeral home. You're not looking and picking that stuff out until it's that time.
Well, I do a lot of people. I'll hand them my card. I'll be like, here's my card. Hopefully you never need my services. But if you do, I do that all the time, every day almost.
What's something every homeowner should know?
About
when you're talking about cleaning up a biohazard, or when is it that they need to look at the problem and go, I need to step back, I need to call a professional? Yeah,
I think it's regular things like dog waste, things that you're going to deal with if you have dogs or animals or even children. That's probably just wipe it up and throw it out. That's fine. But when when you're an animal hoarder, and
I didn't think of that. You're probably dealing with multiple cat homes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially with cats.
Yeah.
Cats. If someone who has a lot of cats, they the ammonia level gets so high in that home that it destroys their olfactory nerves, and they can't smell anything anymore because their olfactory system just the ammonia has destroyed it. So they can't even smell the ammonia smell. You and I could smell from out on the sidewalk, but the person that lives there can't even smell it anymore. It's so bad.
Never even thought of that.
Yeah, and things like that. I'm probably going down to the studs because male cats spray everywhere.
Yeah. Oh God. What's the best advice you give someone in a crisis?
The best way to work through the problem is to start working through the problem. Call the police, call and get it cleaned up, talk to a counselor, talk to your preacher or whomever, talk to your friends, your family. You probably should talk to somebody, because it's a very traumatic, part of your life. And in our society, especially men, you're not supposed to talk about trauma. You're supposed to push it down and drive on, right? And I think that doesn't do our society any good at all by forcing people to deny that there was trauma in their life and not try to work through it. Yeah.
Our society very much. I think our generation is changing, but the older generation, it was bottle it up, keep it inside.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, dude. I when I came home from the Middle East, my dad fought in Vietnam. Never spoke to me about Vietnam at all. And him and I had something in common. I'd come home from the Middle East, wouldn't talk about it at all. And that kind of repression of feelings is bad. And it causes you to end up having problems. And this is the same thing. It's something very traumatic, and you need to process it, or there's going to be problems in the future for you. But
all right, if someone's listening and you want to leave them with one thing to remember, Kirk, what do you want it to be?
The thing that I want people to remember is love each other, and let's try to work as a freaking community to make our communities better. It's easy to say, oh, that person across the street's horrible and I don't like them. It's a lot harder to say the person across the street has a problem and he needs our help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, well, we want to thank you for coming on today. This was a heavy talk, but a necessary talk.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's important because like we touched on, people don't think of you until it's that moment, and they don't even know that there are people like you.
Yeah. I didn't know there were people like me until we got involved in this.
Right. Kirk, thank you again. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, can you shout out your website? We'll put it up there for them. And
yes, our excuse me. Our website is www.steri-clean.com. I read it off, so I knew it was right.
Steri-Clean.com.
Yes, sir. That's our corporate website, and if you go there, if you're in my area, they will hand you to me.
Awesome.
And if you're not, I encourage you to try Steri-Clean, because in my interaction with all other franchisees, we do it right.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming on, Kirk, and we'll talk to you again sometime.
Thank you, sir. You guys have a good New Year.
You too. See you. Bye.
Awesome.
That was a heavy talk. That was a deep. Steve, that was probably one of the heaviest topics we could have started on. Not lighthearted. No, not anything other than, you know what? It was just good to know.
But yeah, full of amazing information and things that people should know if they get into this, kind of order of operations. Something traumatic happens in your life.
Yeah.
Help. And then also just some great advice about reaching out and talking to people about your feelings when it comes to
Kirk talked about It's not just about the cleanup. It's about helping that individual. It's about getting them almost to ground zero. It's about care and safety, helping those families moving forward during those moments that you don't expect.
And it's about having a business in a community. And I love that so much. It's like, as business owners, we shouldn't just be like moving through space. We should still be a part of our community. Those are the people we're serving. And we need to be successful. In my mind, it's not just about the money too. It's about being successful, that being one with all those people.
For anyone listening, if you've ever find yourself dealing with a situation involving trauma, biohazards, or anything that makes your home unsafe, this is not something to handle alone. Having the right professional matters, and that's exactly why we wanted to feature Steri-Clean Detroit here on America's Home Experts. We want to take this time to thank you for listening, and we will see you next time as we bring another blue-collar company to highlight and show what makes them amazing here on America's Home Experts.